Hey guys, what is up? This is the Red Rum and Red Wine podcast. This is your host, Kristen.
And your other host, Sara. What's up, y'all? Welcome back if you're a previous returning listener, and welcome if this is your first episode with us. Thank you.
Thanks for clicking on. This is the podcast where we talk about murder and anything spooky, anything that titillates our paranormal fancy.
Tantalizes our tickle spots.
Exactly. Tickles us all in the right spots.
Ew.
Oh, what are you drinking to make us so cringe today?
I am drinking it's a beer called Union Jack IPA by Firestone Walker. Whoop whoop.
Ooh, I do not miss IPAs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see myself phasing out of them anytime soon, but I'm sure I will one day.
After I had a baby, just couldn't do it. But
couldn't do the gasoline vibes.
Couldn't do the gasoline bitter tingling in the back of my throat. It was not my jam. I was like, holy shit, did I actually used to drink this and brag about this in bars?
Yes, you did.
I was one of those girls, yes.
What are you drinking?
I'm being real boring tonight, and I am having some chamomile lavender tea.
Oh, how lovely.
How lovely. My son's trying to kill me and pass whatever his little daycare brought on to him, so gonna take it easy tonight. I'm just gonna sit back and watch you run the show.
Yeah, some nights you just gotta take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's just get into it. So,
but wait, before we get into it, we're so stinking nervous that we're forgetting it. I really don't want to think about it either. This Saturday, we will be...
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm cringing already. We will be...
So this Saturday, the 15th, Kirsten and I will be appearing as guests on a podcast called A Tilted World. It's a live stream podcast by a friend. His name is Derek Tilt, the host, and we will be appearing as guests to talk about our show and chat a little bit. So we're very nervous because of the live stream aspect. We record our episodes and then re-record them and then re-record them and then post them. So
this is going to be interesting.
But we are very excited and it's going to be a good time. So definitely tune in on Saturday and go check Derek out at A Tilted World on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And also, before we dive into the story today, I did want to do a bit of a trigger warning and touch on the fact that we will be talking about a suicide story. So, we're going to link some resources for y'all below. If this is triggering for anybody and you can't listen, we understand. But we wanted to provide resources for you in case you know someone or if you yourself struggle with that stuff. So we're with you. We're here to help. We get goofy sometimes, but aside from that, we don't like to glamorize it, and this stuff needs to be talked about. So check out the links below.
Hell yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well.
So today I will be talking about the shocking suicide of Christine Chubbuck. Have you heard this story, Kristen, or do you know who she is?
Is this the one where she's the news reporter?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you don't know who Christine Chubbuck is, She was a morning television host who committed suicide on air in 1974 at the age of 29. So this was the first live on-air suicide, at least here in America. So pretty intense stuff. So before we get into the heavier part of the story, we're going to get into who Christine was and a little bit about her upbringing. She was born on August 24th, 1944 in Hudson, Ohio. Her parents were Margaretha and George Chubbuck. We talk a little, or we mention more of Margaretha throughout this story, and she went by Peg most of the time, so I'm going to be calling her Peg. It's easier to say, and she went by that most of the time, so. Christine had 2 siblings, a younger brother, Greg, and an older brother, Tim, so she was a sandwich child. I can only imagine being the middle child between 2 boys. Sounds awful.
No. Over here in Texas, I'm an only child, but when I go over to South Carolina, I'm the second oldest out of 5. So.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, their family seemed to have a pretty good relationship, and growing up, it seemed like they had a pretty put-together household. There didn't seem to be too much drama or anything. George worked hard in the insurance business to provide a pretty decent life for the Chubbuck family. So all 3 children went to private schools or boarding schools, and so they did pretty well for themselves. Christine attended an all-girls private school called Laurel School for Girls, which was in Shaker Heights.
And in Shaker Heights.
Shaker Heights, Ohio, baby.
Oh my God, Reese
I only know
lives
of that.
There.
Yeah, I only know that city exists because of little fires everywhere. And even then, I didn't realize it was real because of...
Yeah, I literally thought that was a made-up spot.
Yeah, so it's real. Christine excelled in her academics at Laurel School for Girls. She, from what I saw, participated in a good amount of extracurriculars, but she jokingly formed a club called the Dateless Wonder Club, which was this little, I guess, club for rejected girls who didn't have dates on the weekends.
Oh, did anyone join the club?
I hope so.
Oh,
I didn't get too much more details. Yeah, it would have been really sad if it was just her in the club.
Could you imagine if you make a club about being rejected and then you get rejected again and no one shows up? Oh, fuck, man. I don't like talking about high school. This is like, trigger warning. We're talking a lot about high school incidences.
And I see just from her kind of forming that in high school, it kind of shows the attitudes she had towards her feelings about boys and the dating life and the fact that she would form the club.
Yeah, it seems
is
like
a little bold.
She really is prioritizing her relationship needs.
Like, so at age 15, she wrote an autobiography. And I couldn't tell if this was a personal project, like it came out of her diary, or if it was a school assignment. I saw something that hinted at it being a school assignment.
Yeah,
so
I don't think you could have told me at 15 to write an autobiography about myself, or let alone anything, so.
Yeah, that shit would not have been interesting. About me, at least.
It's like, when would you have gotten me to sit down at a desk and actually write something?
I did see this one quote from her autobiography that says, "I hope to be able to become a lady with a little spice, a housewife, mother, and good friend to all of my acquaintances, but whatever endeavor, I shall try to make a go of it. Because if there is anything that leaves a sour taste in my mouth, it's failure." So you see from a young age, she wants to be a mom, a housewife, and she wants to be successful.
Yeah, so she has those good
dreams and
goals in life. Good general goals.
she was definitely thinking about it. And I can tell you, I was not thinking about being a mom or a housewife at age 15. But this will be a pretty consistent thing we see throughout her life, is that her insecurities about her love life started young and just persist throughout her life, as well as her low self-esteem issues and just pretty much an overall negative attitude, not only about herself, but kind of how she perceives things or reacts to things.
I'm like, bitch, stop talking about me. I get it. I got daddy issues.
The story is actually about Kristen.
It's actually really starting to sound like me, and I don't like where this is going.
So after high school, Christine attended Miami University, or I also read somewhere Ohio State University. It's a little unclear, but whichever one it was, she went there for a year where she studied theater arts. And then after that, she transitioned over to Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts, and then eventually went to Boston University, where she got her degree in broadcasting in 1965.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's good that she's at least like getting her education and doing productive things in life. It's not like she's just...
Right, yeah. She wants to be successful, and it seems like she has the motive, and...
She seems educated and smart.
Yeah, sadly, it just eventually, she wasn't pleased, I guess. After she got her broadcasting degree in 1965, she floated around for a few years working producing jobs in local small networks throughout a couple of different states. And then in 1968, she actually made her way down to Sarasota, Florida, where she worked in a hospital as a computer programmer for 4 years, or operator, sorry.
Oh, shit.
So she kind of switched it up there, and she may have been doing some television gigs at the same time as that, but that was also kind of unclear. But she was volunteering at Sarasota Memorial Hospital doing puppet shows for children with disabilities.
Okay,
and that
wow.
just touches my heart. Yeah, that's just...
Coming from someone who doesn't do that.
Doesn't volunteer. Yeah, so it's very sweet. So Christine was 5'9", thin, with long black silk hair. Her mom said when she walked into a room, she would make everyone's head turn, although she didn't really attract much attention in the form of love interests. Her mom mentioned that, she would go years without being simply asked on a date, and how she never had any type of relationship that ever progressed. She just wouldn't get that far.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a photo of her, so she's a pretty girl, but it's just a really, like, unfortunate part of life that, like, looks are not enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you can look the way that you want to, or that people perceive as pretty. You can be successful, but you can still just have that hole in you that's eating at you that is telling you that it's not enough, or that you're not enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at fucking Beyonce. Bitch has everything. And it happened... She had an infidelity in her relationship, and it's just like Mark Lopez, J-Lo's ex-husband, was like freaking married to Miss United States.
His last name isn't Lopez.
Oh. You know what? Feminism. I don't care.
Like, that's her last name. She's always kept it.
Mark Anthony.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Mark Anthony. I was like, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, no. But it's just like, looks are not enough. Or like, even you being enough sometimes is not enough. And that is just what's so... Like, that's why you can't put all of your happiness into like one basket, because
all your eggs in one basket. So Christine's social circle was small. She didn't really ever have any super close friends, and like I mentioned, was lacking in the her love life. Never had any major serious relationships. So she considered her mom and her brothers to be her best friends, actually. And Peg said that Christine struggled with depression for most of her life. She was seeing a therapist pretty much until she died. And I remember reading something that one of her brothers said, a childhood memory that they were talking about, and he just mentioned that from a young age, he knew that they weren't going to have Christine in their life very long and that they needed to take care of her and just treat her kind of preciously. So he had this gut instinct that they weren't going to have her very long, and I think that's pretty crazy.
Did he go into detail of him thinking like it was going to be because of suicide, or did he think it was just going to be like...
No, because he was like 12 when I'm pretty sure it was Tim, the older brother, he was talking about this memory he had with Greg. And so Tim was like a preteen, and Greg, since he was the youngest child, he was even younger. And he just talked about how they were all doing something, hanging out, and he looked over to Greg and was like, we're not going to have her very long. We need to take care of her, you know? So just being that young and realizing that something is off with your sister, not necessarily connecting it with depression or suicide, just knowing something's off and having that gut feeling is insane to me.
Shit, man. And the family put her in therapy, were you saying? Like, it's...
Yes, I don't know how young she was when she started therapy, but she was seeing a psychiatrist in her adult life pretty much until she died.
Did they diagnose her with anything? I mean, other than, like,
Just,
depression, obviously, but...
Yeah, no, the only really diagnose we get is depression and loneliness. But her brother Greg made a comment in one of the sources saying that he thought she was bipolar. Yeah. So there's a little bit of that, and we'll see maybe with how she acts throughout the story. There's a little bit of back and forth of how she wants her life to be, who she wants to be, but she's not exactly acting on it as one would think. You know, she wants a boyfriend, but she turns down men or tells them to date her coworker or stuff like that. So
yeah, almost like she's complaining about her life, but at the same time she's making those complaints for herself.
Right. So in 1970, Christine actually had a failed suicide attempt by overdosing on pills, and this seems to be one of the reasons why she moved into her family vacation home in Siesta Key, Florida, which is right next to Sarasota. So it seems like she kind of moved there to have a fresh start.
Oh my God, wait, so sorry, pause. Isn't that an MTV show, Siesta Keys?
I think it is, because I saw it advertised the other day, and I think it might be one of those older ones that's getting brought back, kind of like the Hills one.
Damn, yeah, that would be a nice place to go then, I bet. I can't imagine.
I know, I saw that commercial and I was like, Siesta Key. Siesta Key. Holy crap.
One of the girls that I guess is on the show, I don't know, she went viral on TikTok because her boyfriend had sent her a photo of his bed and was like, oh, I miss you, baby. And then he sent it to her phone. Well, it was like a live photo. And when she clicked on it, like a second in, this girl, not her, obviously, falls onto the bed. Like they're about to bounce.
Oh my God. Idiot. Guys are so dumb.
It's okay, let them be dumb. I love how we catch them.
Do it to yourselves.
Oh God, sorry. Okay, moving on.
It's all right. So Siesta Key is a small barrier island on the west coast of Florida, right across from Sarasota. It sits on the Gulf of Mexico, and it has a bohemian vibe to it, and because it's kind of, Sarasota is more metropolitan, more of a city kind of, and so it's been described that Siesta Key is just a little more hippie, a little bit more bohemian,
like
and
where
it's known
we would
for
go.
Right, yeah. And it's also known for its sandy beaches.
I miss the beach.
Fun fact.
So much.
Me too. Well, fun fact, TripAdvisor ranked Siesta Key the #1 beach in the U.S. in 2020. So maybe we should go check it out.
Let's go to Siesta Keys and to the beach.
To the sandy beaches.
I just need a beach so bad.
Yeah. A bitch needs a beach.
Bitch needs a beach. Isn't Florida a little kooky too? We could...
A little kooky. A lot of kooky.
I think that that guy that I was telling you, he faked his death for like 20 years because he thought he had a drug charge. He's from Florida.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So a few years or shortly after Christine moved into her family vacation home in Siesta Key, her mother, Peg, joined her. Peg ended up getting divorced from George, or they got a divorce. So Peg moves on in with Christine, and then younger brother Greg moves in. I think they had kind of a guest house situation in the back of the cottage, and that's where Greg was living, but he got engaged and moved out. So congrats to Greg on that engagement.
Good for him.
After Greg moved out, older brother Tim moved in, and Tim was actually an interior designer, and he helped redecorate the home, including Christine's bedroom, which, interestingly enough, was described to have looked more like a teenager or young girl's room. It was, it's kind of odd. It was painted with a yellow and white checkered pattern, and she had frilly curtains on her bed. So that kind of speaks also to what her mindset could have been like.
Yeah, I can't say shit because I'm literally staring at my high school aqua blue walls, but I do think it's weird that she wouldn't at least like want to change it, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, I need it black.
Yeah, well, she had it decorated that way on purpose as a
that's so sad.
27, or she was in her upper 20s.
Mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Fuck, our age.
I know. I was like, oh God.
Where's the alcohol? I need a fucking drink after that. But that's that's so sad though. I feel like her family is really, seems like they're close to one another, like a really good family unit.
Right. She was in her mid to upper 20s, living with her mom and sibling. Nothing wrong with living with your parents, of course, but from an outsider, most would be like, oh, that's not really usual for people of their age. But Peg actually compared it to like living in a family commune or compound in one of the articles, but she described that it worked for them and they really liked it. So who cares, Yeah,
it seems like they get along really good.
Yeah. Apparently they were really close, and throughout her life, they really tried being there for her.
Yeah.
And so something else that's pretty interesting about Christine is that she was a virgin, and
yeah, that'll do it in the dating department in your mid to late 20s.
Yeah, and it really fed her insecurities about being lonely, I think.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing from my research how her character was a little bit, she could have easily been telling herself that, reasons why she was a virgin, and like blaming it on herself and also blaming it on other people. And and when ultimately, like, if you want to have sex, you can make it happen, but I'm not like blaming her for not. But
yeah, it's like and I'm sure, like, shit, this is in the 70s, like, obviously at this time, like, people that went to her high school are either already have a kid or going on their second kid, like, for sure are married. Like, there's all this pressure that she's seeing everyone live what she pertains as, like, a perfect life, and she's not living it. And it's like, I don't know, I'm speaking from like how I felt during my depression, so maybe it's not how she felt, but it was one big thing with me was like I was always reaching for a goal, and if in my mind it was like as soon as I hit that goal, that's when I'm going to be happy. That's when life is going to turn around and everything is going to get better. But I think one of the biggest things that you have to learn when you're living with depression is like it's not goals or
Right.
experiences, I guess. It's like you having to learn to live with the waves. I don't know. It's okay to not be okay. Like,
Yeah. And you don't have to tell yourself that getting married or having a kid is going to be what makes you happy or what makes you successful. But it seems like maybe she felt like she really needed these things, and without them, she didn't feel complete. I don't know. Her mom said... Sorry.
No, you're good. I just don't think if whatever she was saying or whatever she was comparing it to, I feel like maybe a reason why she was pushing it away is maybe like one of the reasons she knew is if she were to have gotten it, like she would have still been sad.
Yeah.
I don't like that's depressing.
It's just this huge circle of
depression is just such a bitch, man. Like there's just
it's this black hole of,
it literally doesn't matter what you do, who you are, what support system you have around you. Obviously, like you have someone who is nearly given someone who has given so many chances and opportunities to try and get help from someone, but it still, even then, wasn't enough. It's just like this disease does not care, and it is really fucking dangerous.
Yeah. We have a quote from Peg here. She said about Christine, "No close friends, no romantic attachments or prospects of any. She was a spinster at 29 and it bothered her. She couldn't register with people. That's the main thing." So we do see that her being a virgin really bothered Christine, and her mom obviously recognized that Christine had some problems connecting with people and building those relationships, and just getting to the point of, I guess, being comfortable with where you're at with somebody. She just never progressed in any relationship. So, in the summer of 1973, a few years after settling into the Siesta Key home, she got a job as a reporter with WXL TV Channel 40 in Sarasota, and this was her first on-camera gig, which is pretty exciting. She was pretty good at reporting, and she was passionate about her work, so she was later given a hosting spot on a morning talk show within this station, and this is called Suncoast Digest. So Suncoast Digest was a Monday through Friday 9:30 a.m. talk show. It covered local community affairs, such as people and activities, as well as social and environmental concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So really just, she was going out into the community, interviewing people, doing stories on just things that are happening within Sarasota. She loved it. She took it very seriously. She loved doing the research and going out into the field and getting footage and interviewing people. She wrote most of her segments and scripts and was really, really into it. Not long after she started working at Channel 40, she actually had to get one of her ovaries removed.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I guess she was just having some cramps, some pains down there, and she went to get it checked out, and one of her right ovary was showing, I guess, signs of cancer. So she went to the doctor in time to where if they removed it, she wouldn't really it wouldn't spread, or she wouldn't be affected in any other way besides ruining her prospects of having kids.
Yeah,
so,
and I doubt that she was happy about that.
Right. So the doctor told her after her surgery or during the process that if you want to have kids, do it as soon as possible, because the longer you wait, the older you get, your chances decrease heavily. And I'm sure this was devastating for her because, like I mentioned, she wanted to be a housewife and a mom. And she still has no boyfriend and is still a virgin. So,
damn, dude. Yeah.
She probably felt defeated on that one.
Yeah. I can't. It's like, it's one thing for any woman to have fertility issues is such a trying journey. So,
even if you don't think you want to have kids, when you're told you can't or that it'll be hard, it's even still devastating.
Because it's just like it doesn't define you as a woman, but that's what society, for some reason, like, I don't even fucking know what I'm trying to say.
It's what we're born to do, yo.
Yeah.
And when it can't happen,
it's weird.
Sucks.
You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But nothing is wrong with you.
Right.
But yeah, to add a...
You were born this way.
Yeah. To add a...
That was Lady Gaga, right?
Oh, God.
Beautiful, I know.
So beautiful. Sir, sorry. Sarah, can I have your autograph?
Somebody, like, I've been out in public before where someone said sir and I thought they were saying my name. It's happened more than once. It's embarrassing.
I've had people actually, like, call me sir. No, it's ma'am. I know I don't have makeup on. Fuck you, but...
So after working at Channel 40 for a while, Christine did make a couple of work friends who she still wasn't super close to, but this was the closest she really got to having friends. So from, my research, I read that she would confide in coworkers occasionally, and she would go to work parties or work events, but she wouldn't really hang out with people one-on-one. But there were a few people at this station she got close with like a camera woman and one of the night editors. So that was pretty much the closest she got to really having friends. Her coworkers described her as confident but also insecure, hardworking, with a morbid sense of humor, and a mysterious personality, but also as kind of manly, like the way she would carry herself and talk sometimes just wasn't super feminine. Peg said that although Christine had a yearning to fit in, find friends, and a man, she would at the same time reject people out of pride, or if anyone ever got too close, she would kind of push them away. So, like we were talking about earlier, is like she wanted all these things, but she was her own worst enemy at certain points where she wouldn't give people a chance or
But see, like, that's where I'm like, was she that much of an introvert where she just didn't want to have anyone in her life? And then I guess got these conflicting feelings about it later? Or did she have kind of some kind of social... She seems like really emotionally stunted, if anything.
I can see that for sure with her bedroom being how it was and her what seems to be an inability to
form or
build relationships. And so I can definitely see how she could have been emotionally stunted. What causes that is a little unclear,
Yeah, because you didn't say that anything really traumatic happened in her childhood. I mean, like, the parents don't get divorced until later on. But that could be
also one of the things is sometimes people who come from what seems like a pretty standard and normal upbringing, a lot of times they feel like maybe something's missing or they have to live up to something and they're not. And
she does have a little bit of like a perfection.
Right. And I don't know if she was really a perfectionist, but when it came to her work, she definitely
liked things a certain way.
Yeah. And her mindset was kind of tunnel visioned on her work and what she wanted to do. She was very comfortable in her position at work, but like I said, she was very particular and she would throw tantrums, apparently. She would often disagree with the station owner and the news director.
Ooh, that's a big no-no.
Yeah, and it's the tantrums for me, you know? So
was this like a full-on 2-year-old tantrum, or was...
There's one instance that is mentioned in my research where she was prepping for an interview and there were fake flowers on her interview table, like as a centerpiece. And I guess they were normally real flowers or something, because this ticked her off and she threw a tantrum. She threw the fake flowers across the set and stormed off. So...
Ooh. And she didn't get fired for that?
No. Because I guess people kind of knew
it's like the
her
70s, I guess. I don't know.
And how she acted. Yeah, I guess... I don't know. Her coworkers probably noticed that she was just a certain way. And that was just Christine. So...
it's kind of like the standby effect. Is that the one? Is that the right one?
Bystander
effect. When you're in like large groups, you're just kind of like, that's okay.
Yeah. No one else is worrying about it, so I'm not going to, kind of thing.
Also, we had no idea what the fuck mental health issues were in the 70s or... Right.
And it's crazy because there's just a lot of small things in this story where it sets it apart, I think, from, every suicide is different, but this really sets it apart from a bunch of stories you hear because of the way she acted and how it happens. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say crazy, but it's... what do you call it without offending mental health? Like, it's insane. No.
That's the same
wild
thing.
Shit.
Fuck.
So Suncoast Digest usually reached a pretty small audience, which was around 500 or fewer views most mornings.
Mm-hmm.
So in a fight to gain a wider audience, the station director wanted to start doing more coverage on crime and violence, because other stations that portrayed those kind of stories had better ratings. And Christine jokingly called this kind of coverage blood and guts. And she definitely was not a fan of the station going that way or that direction, because she was totally into her fluffy stories about the community and the environment.
Yeah, helping the people out.
Yeah.
No, bring the weirdos on. I want to see some blood and guts, man.
Give me some gore.
Give me the rock and rollin' gore.
But actually, although she was against the whole blood and guts coverage, a few weeks before her death, she went to the news director and asked if she could do a story on suicide. So the director was like, sure, go ahead, go for it.
Oh,
if it bleeds, it leads, baby.
Fuck, man. No one...
I know.
I mean, I guess, we know what happens, but that doesn't seem like a good idea to do.
Right. Well, I guess the news director probably wasn't caring about seeing any kind of red flags, or...
He didn't give a shit about what was going on.
He kind of seemed like he was
lives.
just like, all right, if Christine's happy, then just let her do what she wants to do, as long as she's not throwing tantrums or whatever. Yeah. So as a part of her research for this suicide story, she went to the police station and talked with an officer about suicide methods. The officer told her that a gun would be one of the more efficient ways or methods to kill yourself. He also described what kind of gun would work best. And he also showed her what area of the head to point to with the gun before pulling the trigger.
Okay, maybe don't give this information out to to someone who's going to share this with the general public.
I know. Because she's just going to either whatever.
Oh, I mean, he was probably just...
It's the 70s.
He probably was just like, man, this girl's in here, let me show off. I don't know.
He was high on the supply, probably.
High on the fucking supply. Fuck.
So...
That is so bad.
Yeah. Well, Christine ends up buying the said gun that the officer recommended as a suicide method, or the type of gun, which was a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. After buying the gun, at some point she admitted to buying the gun to the night editor at the station, Robert Smith, who I mentioned earlier kind of being one of her closer coworkers she would chat with and confide in. And she told him she bought a gun and apparently made a joke about it, and he thought it was really weird, so he changed the subject. But so he asked what she bought the gun for, and she apparently said, well, I thought it would be a nifty idea if I went on the air live and just blew myself away. So I don't think that's really like well, you could see it as a joke, but when you look at it, when you look back at it, it's a total warning sign. She's literally telling you what she's about to do.
Even if you make you have a gun for real, like you don't make a joke like that.
Yeah, and they described her as having a morbid sense of humor, but once someone says, like, I bought a gun and this is what I might do with it.
Yeah. It's one thing to, like, really say it and humorous. Not have a gun, because that's not funny, but I guess maybe in your mind you could pass it off as funny, but to actually have a gun and then say that you're going to do that, like, no, I'm probably going to call the cops on you.
Right.
Fuck. That's so creepy.
Christine actually talked about suicide within her family pretty often. It was a open topic, and I think that's why their family felt so close, is because they discussed stuff like that. And she brought up suicide to a few different coworkers in the time leading up to her death.
But no one fucking did anything about that.
Right. And with her psychiatrist, she would mention it apparently, and I read that, and who knows, but I read that it was just, a topic of conversation, and she wasn't taken seriously, basically. Like, no one thought she would just really do it. Or...
Okay, maybe like the other, like the people without the psychology degree have an excuse, but if she's saying to her psychiatrist, hey, I'm feeling suicidal, or I may commit suicide, like, that is one of the fucking rules where you need to pull her aside and, like, get her help. That's actually really fucking ridiculous. That doctor should be fired.
Right. And she was pretty open about it with one of her coworkers. She had talked about her previous suicide attempt, how she tried to overdose, and about a week before she died, she brought up having suicidal thoughts to her brother Greg. He was over at the family home visiting, and I think he was there doing laundry or something, and he asked if she wanted to talk about it, and she was like, oh, we can just talk about it tomorrow. So I guess they didn't talk about it. And on the night of July 14th, which was the night before of Christine's death, she got into an argument with the news director. One of her stories got cut for a shootout video, and she was not having it. So they got in an argument, and this very well could have been the last straw for her, just the tip of the iceberg, you know? So on the morning of July 15th, 1974, Christine Chubbuck had coffee with her mother. She told her that she'd be back that morning after her segment, and asked if her mom would let out her dog, which was a small brown poodle. And then she said goodbye. She drove from her family home in Siesta Key to the station in Sarasota in her yellow Volkswagen Beetle, wearing a nice black and white dress, accompanied by her purse full of puppets. When she arrives at work, she tells the production operations manager that she's going to start out her daily segment with a couple of news stories, which is something she hadn't done before, but everyone trusted her professionalism because of how much she cared about her work, and they ran with it. Didn't really think anything about it.
Yeah.
She also went to the editor's room, and she requested that her show be recorded that morning so she can save it for her reels. Normally the show isn't tape recorded, but this wasn't an unusual request kind of until you see what happens. Really, the only thing that was said to be off about Christine that morning of her death was that she was in a particularly good mood.
Oh, that's not okay. That's fucking weird.
I know.
She was happy.
She walked into work that morning cheery, kind of flirty. So she would usually type her script. She would get to work about 30 minutes early, put finishing touches on her script or finish typing it up. And so she's there finishing her script. When she's done, she gets ready to go live. She walks up to the news anchor desk to start her news segments. She places her denim purse of puppets below at her feet. And she goes on. So she starts with her segment with 3 national news stories. And she goes to tell a local story about a shooting that happened the night before. And a video clip was supposed to play for that video. Mm-hmm. But the film jammed and it wouldn't play. So the camera woman signaled to her that it wasn't going to play. And Christine just sat there and kept a super calm face and said, "It isn't going to roll." And then she proceeded by saying... Ooh. So, trigger warning, again, for suicide and guns. In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, we bring you another first, an attempted suicide. Her arm reached up from under the desk holding her .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver, pointed it to the bottom back of her head, and pulled the trigger. Because they were live on the air, the screen quickly faded to black as the production crew and other staff were in shock as to what happened, not only before their eyes, but for everyone who was watching at home also.
Yeah, this was before they had that, 10-second live rule, right?
Yeah, the, lag or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that.
Well, this case didn't affect it because everyone saw Janet Jackson's boobie. So
yeah,
it was sometime after the boobie show that they did it. I don't know why it death totally cool, nipple hail to the no, shut that shit down.
Not okay.
Yeah, that's not fucked of us at all.
We're free the nips on this podcast, but some of the staff at the station were so in shock they didn't know if this was a prank or not, and calls flooded the local police station from viewers wondering if this was a stint or if it was real. And so Christine was... Yeah.
You were saying it was only roughly around 500. I mean, that's still a lot, but...
Right. So I'll mention that in a second. But Christine was taken to Sarasota Memorial Hospital in critical condition after her shooting. And she passed away about 14 hours later that night at 11:10 p.m.
Fuck, she lived that long?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of wild.
It amazes me how anyone is able to live any length of time after you've been shot in the head. Mm-hmm. And in my brain, it only computes if you get shot in the head, you die. That's just...
Yeah, surprisingly.
Logic. A lot of people survive. It's insane, man.
She was 29 when she passed away, only a little bit over a month shy of her 30th birthday. And I'll just point out that the hospital she passed away at is the same one she volunteered at. So back at the station, Christine's bloody scripts were left on the desk, which is where she also left something interesting. So she didn't leave a suicide note or anything, but she hand wrote a news story about her suicide for another anchor to read on the air after her attempt. So it read something it described how it happened and how Christine was taken to the hospital in critical condition. And so I thought that's pretty interesting also. She took the time to write a news story on her own death.
It's just so weird how someone who has acted so introverted their entire life, had such a public moment like that.
Right. And that is another thing about, you know, the feelings she left people, like not only people she knew, but complete strangers. Up. She kind of made it public business and brought others into it
and she was happy about it.
She was in a good mood. Yeah, she was, I think, real fed up and just ready. I don't know.
Fuck society. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I get that feeling, but not that feeling.
Right, yeah. Her purse of puppets was also found under the desk, which is where we, you know, come to find out she had her gun hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did mention earlier that the show could have anywhere from around 500 viewers on a morning, but that morning it said that only about 100 viewers may have been watching from home.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it must have been out of season or something. I don't know.
It's like, in reality, that's still a lot of people to have traumatized, but I'm like, there is no bright side, but that's not as bad as it could have been.
Right. It's also very unlikely that anyone else was tape recording the show that morning from home. So the recorded tape from the studio has become kind of like a holy grail of films involving death.
Oh, I bet it would go for so much money. I was just watching some of that stuff for research.
Yeah, because, you know, there's people out there that really love that kind of dark web videos of death and all that crazy stuff. And it's rumored that the station owner, Robert Nelson, held on to it for safekeeping, and when he passed away, his widow apparently took it to a big name law firm for safekeeping.
Why would you give it to the family?
Well, it's rumored that the family was given the tape, so we don't really know. There was a reenactment posted on YouTube some time ago, but it was quickly debunked. It just was quickly found to be fake. So I did listen to what could have been the real audio of the incident. I really don't know if it could have been real, but it's said to be real, and it's pretty heavy listening to it. She just kind of calmly but quickly reads through her script before shooting herself, and there's almost no hesitation, you know.
Shit.
It's crazy. So people weren't surprised that she committed suicide per se, but really just at how she did it, because like we mentioned, it's a really bold act.
Especially, I hate to do this, but like for a woman, especially doing it that way, like totally against common woman suicide methods.
Right. Well, she did try an overdose before and it didn't work.
Yeah,
so maybe
true.
She thought this time she should do it differently. And
what was that?
Just
freaking cop telling her, "Hey, this is the best way to kill yourself."
Some say she did it for the attention she always yearned for, kind of like a look at me moment.
Dude.
Others say it was kind of an FU to the station for wanting blood and guts, kind of like a here you go, you wanted blood and guts. The news director, Bob Keane, said, "I think she was saying, is this what you want, folks? This blood and guts? Well, here it is. See how stupid and horrible it is? Is this what you really want?" Robert Smith, who was the night editor that she would often confide in, said that he found this horrifying and that it was very uncharacteristic of Christine. And her mother, Peg, said she thinks that Christine was making a statement saying, "Look, world, I've been here all along." So it's kind of her motives onto what statement she was trying to make is a little unclear. But she did what she did.
Yeah.
And it's also pointed out how in her script she specifically said, I'll bring you another first, an attempted suicide. And because of her professionalism and investigative reporting skills, it's like she purposely wrote attempted suicide because she was unsure if it was really going to work.
Well, yeah.
And she wanted to do correct reporting on herself.
And she even was fucking right a little bit because they were able to keep her alive for like 14 hours. So,
yeah.
That's...
And the story is different a little bit because we see that she was open about her suicidal thoughts. She talked about it. It was no surprise, and people maybe should have known or taken her thoughts more seriously, but she didn't show a lot of other signs of like wanting to end her life right then and there. She told her mom that morning she would be back, which I think is weird.
Yeah.
Kind of strange.
I don't know. Maybe she didn't
sometimes
want to, like,
people
worry her
will start.
mom.
Yeah, people will give away belongings or their money or. So really, besides the fact that she was completely open about her suicidal thoughts, there were no other major signs, I guess you could say. Christine was cremated and had a service on the beach where her ashes were spread into the Gulf of Mexico. And here's a part of the eulogy that was read by Reverend Beeson. We suffer at our sense of loss. We are frightened by her rage. We are guilty in the face of her rejection. We are hurt by her choice of isolation, and we are confused by her message. So that last part is pretty on point by being confused by her message, because her mom mentioned how Christine loved to swim. She loved the ocean. And if she would have had to guess of a way Christine would commit suicide, it would have been just swimming out into the ocean and not coming back, and have that be her final resting place. So
yeah, I've heard that drowning is actually like a really peaceful way to go.
Oh, good to know.
Is that weird? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because there's really no pain.
Like once you get over the initial like swallowing all the water, yeah, because you just float, and it's very like that float tank.
Yeah. Not that I've been in one, but I can imagine.
But I floated on water.
I've floated in the pool. Christine's suicide definitely put WXLT TV Channel 40 on the map.
Of course it did.
So
because
I guess
if it bleeds, it leads.
Hell yeah, sister. I guess they got their ratings after that segment.
God, people are fucked.
Yeah. It later became a different station. It got engulfed into the ABC network and moved buildings like in the 90s. The original building of the studio, as of 2016 at least, it's become a dance studio, which is...
That's kind of eerie.
Yeah, I'm like, is it haunted?
Do they know what happened? Probably not.
Probably not, yeah. In this case, it really resurfaced in 2016. Yeah, in 2016 because 2 movies came out about this case. One is called Christine, and the other one is more of a documentary style called Kate Plays Christine. And so in the movie Christine, they really dramatize things a bit, and it's more of a story about the event, but Kate Plays Christine is more... It's following an actress who's preparing to play Christine in like a reenactment type of show. And so it's really following her in her journey to learn who Christine was, to prepare to play her in her role. And that one was interesting, I'd say. I mean, so the movie Christine was pretty good. Besides them dramatizing it a bit, they show her going on a date with one of her coworkers that she had a crush on, but I'm pretty sure in real life they never went on a date. And
yeah,
they showed her mom at home watching her morning news segment while she committed suicide, and I'm not sure if her
shit.
mom was actually watching at home. So,
yeah, it's a movie.
yeah, so they're all right if y'all want to check them out. But that was the story of the shocking and tragic suicide of Christine Chubbuck.
Damn, Sarah. That's a sad one.
Yeah. And it's tough because I really wanted to try and find some videos of Christine just on the news doing segments, you know, doing her normal stuff, like not her death video. But there's none out there. Because I just wanted to get more of a grasp on how she talked and kind of who she was. But
it depends. Like, the family may have not wanted all of the stuff out there. But, damn, that's a deep case. It's just extra hard because she had a really loving family, and it seems like she had a lot of opportunity to try and get help, and she was even seeing people, and it's just like, damn, yeah, this disease does not care. It's hard when you are going through something like that. So,
and it sucks because, you know, the way she did it left her family and a lot of people in shock and with questions, and we try to figure out why or what happened, but then it just seems so judgmental, you know, and it's just like,
yeah, man, I've been reading a lot of suicide cases where the people are like jumping off buildings and they'll land on someone else, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
fuck, man, that extra added layer of like, I mean, it's not like they meant to land on that person, but the world just wants to fuck us up a little bit harder today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on a positive note, you couldn't have two weirder people talking to you than us, so.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Has our awkwardness or cringeworthy stories or cringeworthy attitudes turned you away yet? Let's hope not.
Or has it just drawn you in? Because we're just like you. So don't feel alone. Join our community.
What's something positive?
You're asking the wrong person.
We would like to share that in a couple of weeks' time, 2 weeks' time, I, Sara, will be driving to Texas to spend time with Kirsten, so we will be providing an episode recorded live together. Not live streamed, but together.
Yes, we'll pump out an extra episode that week or something like that. But it will be highly edited. Do not expect it to be live.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that story. It was definitely a heavy one, but I think the heavy ones are always needed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Stories
one of those
need to be
things
told.
that exists, and need to talk about it, if not for our own entertainment, but to spread awareness also.
Exactly, because not funk mental health.
Fuck depression.
Yes. Fuck mental health issues.
And, you know, speaking of mental health issues and just taking care of yourself, self-care, dude. Self-care. Throughout this whole entire episode, Kirsten has been doing face masks and her skincare routine and putting lotion on. So
I have. It's
you
been
all
lovely.
do the same, okay?
Yes, you do the same.
Moisturize those elbows, bitches.
Go put on a mask. Go get an extra big glass of wine. Just chill back and know that you're loved and that we love you. And until next time.
Thank you for listening to Red Rum
and Red Wine.
Thank you.
Bye.